spent enough years in this industry, you've been through some shit, right? It's crazy what the human mind does. It took me 10 years to look up the definition of the word grooming because at that time, I couldn't accept that I would be stupid enough to be groomed. I want to address the demons. I want to bring them out.
Erin Moriarty is an actress known for hit TV shows and films like The Boyz, Captain Fantastic, True Detective, and Marvel's Jessica Jones.
Yeah. No. So,
are we the same person?
Maybe. Oh God,
this is a match made
Just
in
buckle
heaven.
up, everyone. Stuff online doesn't matter to me anymore because real life stuff has happened, and that's what mandates my attention. And I've been through the really hard shit. You need to amplify your psychological immune system, and you need to show up for yourself in a significant way. I would rather make an impact than being in a Coen Brothers movie because I think that there are games that must be played. I'm starting to figure out what is worth it and what's not. I don't smoke weed, actually. I can't anymore because I get hella paranoid. I become a conspiracy theorist.
Don't we all when we smoke some weed?
Oh
that
my
me?
God, yes.
do
I don't
too.
need a real estate agent. I need a psychic.
It's a whole nother level. A whole nother level. A whole nother level.
I need to go to New York a lot of the time in order to like maintain my sense of sanity and
Yeah.
my connection to the outside world.
Yeah.
You know?
I think New York is like the perfect place for that. Like moving there has just been the people. I don't know. I feel like I'm living it. So I'm living in the West Village,
I
and
can't
it's
believe that. Like the dream. Who
It's
lives
the
there?
dream.
Wait, what street?
I'm living in a
What-
brownstone.
You shut the. What the fuck?
I don't know. I have
What-
a
where? What's-
yard. I have a yard, which is
Stop.
insane.
Stop. How?
It doesn't make any
who?
sense. I know.
No, it does because you have these abilities. I'm gonna need to like
These
I'm
abilities,
gonna be
but
like
you do
I don't need
too.
a real estate agent. I need a psychic.
Yeah. I need a psychic. Wait, hold on.
Literally, yes.
So you, so talking about
Yes.
New York, so it helps ground you. What about
Yes.
New York is it gives you your sanity and you
Oh
just
my
want to
gosh.
feel like being a person again, just being
Yes.
on the subway,
Yes.
just feeling like a regular person.
Yeah.
How has life changed for you, since everything, since the life has blown up in a crazy way? So if you don't know, Erin is on The Boyz,
Yes.
which is a #1 show. It's
Yeah.
#1 streaming.
Yeah, it's surreal.
It has been like a huge wild ride. You're the it girl.
Oh,
Like,
yeah,
and I
yeah.
feel like that's like it's a term in the industry that everyone sort of uses, and then you're thinking like, what am I supposed to do with that? Because
It's-
like at the end of the day,
yeah.
you're still a person.
Of course, I just look at it as like, okay, I'm not immune to the fact that like you could call me a flavor of the month almost. Like you need to keep doing the work in order to sustain any longevity. The it girl concept to me implies like, I don't know. There are certain reductive phrases used when it comes to women and men in the industry, and I just always think to myself, okay, like all I think about in reaction to that is there's no weirdness around it. I just feel grateful. I feel immensely grateful because it's not a meritocracy. Like and also I really loved playing this role. It's really changed who I am. And I just feel like this immense amount of gratitude. Now, I know that we're going into our last season, so I'm not taking things for granted right now. But I never have. It's the only job that I've ever had where like it's felt like it's flowed in a way that has like really, really just completely affirmed my decision to do this when I was so young as well.
Yeah, you
So
started as a kid.
I started
You were
as a kid.
you did Annie.
I did Annie. I know.
And
I
you're
know.
playing
And I
Annie.
loved. I know. It's crazy, and I loved it so much. I will say that like, I would not let my hypothetical future child do it until they turned 18. I would say
Wow.
that. Yeah.
And why is that? Did you feel like a Disney kid? Like
No. You know what it was? Because I wasn't on Disney, so I feel like that's a whole other thing.
that's a
and
whole other thing.
They deserve their like that. I can't even begin to fathom what that would have been like.
Nickelodeon. And like the
Nickelodeon.
stories are coming
I
out
know, but
now.
the sad thing is, I'm not surprised. Like that's
No.
the sad part.
Yeah.
That there's no, like, I wish it was a shock because that would mean that it would be an anomaly, but it's not.
It's not.
There's a systemic thing at play that's like it's just been freaky. But for me, it's like you either are like I started properly when I was 15.
Mhm.
You're either a proper 15-year-old and you navigate a very adult world. That's hard, or Or maybe you're just forced to grow up really quickly, right? Which is what most of us go through. And then you learn that, like, when you do that, you get encouragement from adults who say, like, you're so wise. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but something about that instills this concept within you that, like, okay, I need to suppress my childlike qualities to adhere to this prototype that they've created, like, to adhere to the person that they want me to be, because you so want to be that person.
Yeah.
Especially in acting as a woman, like, it's a yes game. You know what I mean? I don't know how anyone, like, navigates this industry without becoming codependent with it at a certain point, you know? But, like, it's just, I don't know. It's really, starting young was really difficult because I did grow up quickly, and then I learned to suppress anything that I associated with childlike emotions. But then you get into this mode where, like, I was so reserved and so unexpressed and so petrified of taking one step in the wrong direction. Because, by the way, the messed up thing is, like, the consequences are real.
Yeah.
We live in a reductive world that lacks nuance.
Yep.
And so I, like, very much, have gone through the process where, like, I might have grown up really quickly when I was 15, but I'm dealing with stuff that I didn't deal with back then. Now, right?
Yeah.
It always comes back.
Yeah. There was when I was a tennis player, so like child tennis player.
I
Like,
love tennis, by the way. I was a child tennis player. Love.
oh my
Love.
God.
Yes, love.
But it was a really interesting thing where it's like when you're sort of this. I wasn't as like Kornikova when she was like on the tour, but I was a top junior. I was one in New England.
It's your life.
And then I moved.
your life.
And then I moved to a tennis academy. I was
Wow.
recruited
Where?
by Everett.
Where
Chris
is that?
Everett Tennis Academy in
Where?
Boca Raton.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
because the one I went to was in Naples, Florida.
Ah. You went to a tennis academy?
I did, girl. Like, that's the only sport I can play. When I tell people that, they're like,
What?
Because I can't play sports, but tennis I love. It's the only thing.
We had a similar.
Yeah.
This is blowing my
No, it's the only
mind.
sport I can play. It's the only sport. Like,
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So if you don't know, if you moved down to, so I moved down to like an academy. You're in an academy. You're with like other kids your own age, but then you have coaches. And there was one guy who was like 45 writing me love letters at 12. Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
okay.
And I didn't know because I was like,
Yes, you didn't.
I thought he
You
was a
don't know.
friend.
Me too.
Oh my God, we're the same life. Are we the same person?
Maybe. Oh God. Here we go. What's your astrological sign?
Oh my God, I'm a Scorpio.
Okay, wait, I'm a Cancer, but Scorpio rising. But
Oh my
Cancers and
God,
Scorpios.
We're friends. This is a match made
just
in
buckle
heaven.
up, everyone.
Buckle up,
buckle
guys.
up and buckle up. And
Tanner
put your,
hates it. Every time we
your-
talk about astrological
I know, I'm
signs,
so
he's
sorry.
like,
By the
but
way-
you're an actor. It's okay.
But by the way, like, I recognize that as it comes out of my mouth. I'm so curious. I don't look at it as like, it's not my Bible. I
Yeah.
have fun with it. You know what I mean?
It's so much
Like,
more fun.
It's so fun.
It's
Like,
so
I just
fun.
like to like have fun with it. And I'm so curious. And I'm just like,
It's-
Cancers and Scorpios. I know Scorpios
We're-
are intense.
yeah, we're like
Motherfucking
this.
intense.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
so this 45-year-old
Yes.
guy
Yeah,
is like
yeah.
trying
Oh,
to be
shit.
my boyfriend. Like I didn't know
Yeah.
this. He's writing me love letters,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I just think he's my friend. And he's going in a car with him. He's getting me a CD, and then
Yep.
I bring it to my house parent. Who like her daughter was older and staying there as well, and I'm like, oh my God, I have a friend because I was so alone. I was by myself.
Yeah.
I'm wanting to achieve
Yes.
these like big things,
Yes.
and
And also, it's heartbreaking that this person, like,
and then find out he gets fired because he's like, wait, this is so inappropriate. And I'm like, no, he's just trying to be my friend. And then later the guy was like, it was, saying that like I was 12 and he was 45 and he was like trying to like, hey, something about like trying to, I was trying to seduce him was his like, and I was like, what does seduce even mean? Because you're
Oh,
12.
But here's the thing: whenever someone says something like that, I always think
He was
okay.
fired. He was fired
Yeah,
shortly
but like,
after that.
That is not someone who's thinking on the same intellectual plane. That is someone. There comes a point where, because I love to communicate, and it's so frustrating to me when there lacks a level of rationale that's just like that most people possess, and I completely like. There are people who are mentally ill, and I completely like. Of course, we all have our character deficits. That's not a character deficit. If you're mentally ill, then you have a disorder, and that's an illness. And I have all the like, but I'm just talking about the fact that like there are these moments in life where you're talking to someone and they lack rationale, and it's like, wow, you've been through something really profound, and you can't get it through their like. That's so But that's also he might have narcissistic personality disorder or something.
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to externally diagnose. I'm pretty sure that's like, but the fact that he's turning it around on you,
Yeah.
either that or denial that like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, shortly after that, he was fired. But I think my whole experience of being like this child, somewhat of a phenom of trying to do something great and maybe go
Yes.
pro and eventually I was top 10 in the country. But it was,
Wow.
you're playing 8 hours a day and traveling out of a suitcase
Oh
at
my
15, 12. And so kind of similar to you where this is how I likened it when I started to kind of have a diary and write about what I felt. And I felt like I was on that during that time. People treated me differently. People,
Yes.
like my mom suddenly, like I think she wanted to enmesh with that success.
Yes.
And it was really hard for her to kind of,
Yeah.
there was all this like a lot is given, so a lot is expected. But like I'm 12, the focus should just be about like just having a good development. And I think she really wanted my success. But in the back of my mind, it was always like get a full scholarship to like Duke or Stanford or.
Was your mom, would you not, I don't like to use labels, but was she a version of a stage mom in that sense?
I mean, she's gone now, and I feel like my sister would disagree, but we had very different experiences.
Yeah.
My mom was really tough, and I think I called her out one time and I was like, Mom, you're a tennis parent, And I think that was the most horrible thing. Like my mom was a guidance counselor. Like her job was getting people into college. So it's not lost on me. She actually wanted to go to Stanford. She was waitlisted. And so I think she was very poor growing up. She came from a truck driver, a father. And there was this guy from Brown who was, had a lot of status and she was really interested in. And he went to go pick her up at their house, and he took one look at their house and went, nope. And then just like, and so I think that was like a core memory trauma for her.
Course.
So then she, was like, if I go to Stanford, then this will mean that I'm, she was married to my dad who, went to Harvard. And so it's just really interesting how I feel like maybe that moment informed her life, because then the rest of her life was trying to get other people into college. And then sort of this pressure of, me at 12 being interviewed on camera being like, well, I just want to go to college and get a good job. And like, I'm literally like this child actor. So I see it, and so she was trying to do her best as she does.
Based on what she went through, she was of course she would think that you going through that experience and setting yourself up like that would have been the most optimal way to plan out your life and to behave. And it's so interesting how, and I'm not saying that like it's resolved in me whatsoever. It's a daily practice, but that resentment and that anger that we hold towards others. And
man.
It's like, as soon as you do something that involves like therapy or anything that involves like digging into like things that happened during our childhoods, you realize, we've all been through this.
Yeah.
And like you find these little ways like to find self-compassion for yourself and others. And it's so liberating. And I just like, that's
compassion
why I just,
for others
yes,
is key.
It's key.
100, it's
and
key.
yourself. But the
it's
mandatory
always yourself.
precursor, that is something that like I've only just learned. And I'm like, oh my God, it makes me sad that it was so lacking before, but I feel so grateful to have found it. And ironically, or not so ironically, just it is what it is. I found it because I just wanted to be there for others. And like, that sounds almost, I think we pathologize things a lot. Like, I think we tend to label things almost too much to a degree where it can be like, there's
it's reductive.
It's reductive. And like, we have to work on this. That it's like, no, I want to show up for the relationships in my life because they serve me. So therefore I am going to put my oxygen mask on for the first time properly in my life.
Yeah.
Which I've gone around preaching that my whole life. I come from a family of psychologists, right? Like my grandfather was the co-founder of the American Society of Addiction. Yes. My he treated Betty Ford.
What?
My grandmother went to Columbia and she's a psychologist. And like my dad is a sobriety coach and 40 years, and he would say that. Like he would be public about that.
Wow.
And he's a brilliant sobriety coach. Like people who are going through the worst kinds of withdrawal. He's just, so I grew up with like psychology and therapy and everything in my life.
And you're a Cancer.
And I'm a Cancer.
and so which we love. We love the human consciousness. We want to get really deep
and like,
into
listen,
it.
When I found out I could cry and make money for a living, like I was like, okay, literally. I love podcasts so much.
Honestly, I've been wanting to do this for years. I love it so much.
It's the best. I'm addicted to them because like, I'm sorry. Sometimes I'm like, am I meant to be an actress? Because I can't go on those stages and like work the room for 15
Oh,
minutes.
I gotta
and, like,
do the wind
yes,
up
it's
toy
like
and
one-
the
yes.
one line bit.
I
top
just,
hat.
yes, exactly.
It's
And
exhausting.
like, here's
Go
my
on The
story.
View.
Oh my
The
god.
persona.
Oh my
Hold on.
god.
I have so many questions. I want to get into this. Hold on.
Of course.
I wanted to finish the story,
Yes, please.
but about like suddenly you're, thrust into the limelight.
Mhm.
People treat you so differently. And then you're
Yes.
10,000 feet above the ground. And any wrong move, when you were talking about literally any wrong move, like you feel like you're going to crash and die.
Because, by the way, there is something that is true in the fact, and I'm not dejected, I'm not hopeless. I'm always looking for ways to remain galvanized because that's key, right? You cannot lose hope. But I think the only thing that is better than people who are insecure and going through like hurt people, the only thing better than them hurting someone is hurting someone who they are seeing go from being in an inaccessibly like high place of status and being ripped down.
Yeah.
That I feel like is Schadenfreude. Like, Schadenfreude, that's what it is. And I feel like it's a human thing. And I think that like genuinely hurt people. The good news is, and I don't know if you've experienced this, but like, I don't think this would happen, but I say it earnestly because it didn't take effort. I just got to a point where like you become Teflon because like, you hear like so many things are said eventually that have nothing to do with you. That
Nothing
are so
to do with
irrelevant,
you.
But like
It's
to a
always about
degree-
them.
To a degree where it's like, oh, like these are like really, people are looking for opportunities to exercise or catharsize their anger, and I feel that.
Yeah.
But it manifests in like horrible ways, like road rage. We don't talk about enough. I feel like that's negligent of human life. Like we talk about bullying. Of course, there's bullying online. We're driving in cars and we are neglecting human lives that could die in an instant because people are making conscientious choices. I'm not talking about spur of the moment, game time, like, oh shit, I fucked up. We all fuck up. Like people are making conscientious decisions every day that could just impact so many people. So of course there's online bullying. Hiding behind machines is a thing, or like computers.
Wow.
I do think there needs to be something done, and I don't know what that would be, to like really, really mandate. Like we need to force the fact that like there are humans behind these computers, behind these phones, behind these cars.
This is so much of what I wanted to get into because, Peekaboo, she's really one of my closest friends. And, she's had such a pinnacle moment of being the face of this machine, of being the face of like, right after the Cold War and being like, America, like it was full on in every commercial. It was like, she was the hero and the beacon, like, thank you for your service. And it was like, it's still to this day, everywhere she goes, people are like, oh, like it's still and I've dated some movie stars and I know it's kind of the same thing. And it's, and I feel like this whole thing, the whole machine of it all, it's like the whole thing is just a game.
It's
like the whole life is a game. Like it's not real.
Like it's life is real. The game of this, like whatever like status game you want to play, it's all bullshit.
Yeah.
And the benefit that I've received, the immense benefit I've received from peeking behind the curtain and being amongst like people who are kind and some of the most famous people on earth, or experiencing things myself that like inherently make people. Like, I'll be with a girlfriend, right? We'll be walking out of Erewhon because I'm basic, like LA.
Hey, this is what I picked you up Erewhon because I love it. Look, it's great. It's all organic.
Listen,
you can't,
I can't, like,
I'm sorry.
It is what
I love it.
I know, same. Sorry.
It's
Sorry,
a
not
whole
sorry.
paycheck, but I can't.
Yeah. No, 100% and worth it. But like, I was walking out of Erewhon with my girlfriend, and someone came up to me who I had met once, like very far in the like distant past, and he just didn't acknowledge her presence as a human. And I was like, this is the issue for me. It's like I actually, you'd ironically think that it would be like, or some people might think it would be cool to get to a place where like you're treated in a way where people are no longer shaking your hand and looking in a different direction in the room, right? They're not looking you in the eye.
The Hollywood parties. For the people who don't know, everyone's looking around for who's Brad Pitt isn't famous enough to be in that room. Like there's always someone more famous is my point.
Thing.
That's
it's
what's
like,
crazy.
But you know what's amazing is like I just feel like now if I honestly I've reached the point of being very content and very okay with the fact that like I don't I started when I was so young, and I love acting so much. And my like child self, I just want to honor her
Yeah.
earnest. Like the first time I got on stage was the happiest moment of my life, and I followed that. That was it. And so then when it takes these weird little turns that like feel a little bit freaky, I just kind of got to this point where I thought, okay, let's take a second, let's take a step back, and let's assess what, like, I don't believe that anyone can leave a legacy that is more substantial than the next person. You know, what is legacy? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not going to imply that mine has any more gravity than the next person. However, I would rather make an impact on I don't know, on women in the industry and trying to make more of a personal impact than being in a Coen Brothers movie, you know? Because I think that there are games that must be played to get to a place, and I'm starting to figure out what is worth it and what's not. And I'm not saying that like everyone plays a game. I shouldn't not play the game because I want to act, and so therefore don't hate the player, hate the game. I get it. However, it's funny because I started when I was so young, and I just remember going through like years and years and years of like just a lot of stuff being bottled into my like psyche.
Compartmentalized.
Yeah, compartmentalized.
So you compartmentalized
Yes.
your child self, put her away
Oh, she
because
was
she's
put
not
away.
allowed.
Yeah,
She's
no,
not
no,
allowed
no,
to
no,
be
no.
out right
No,
now, and
because
the
other
adult
one was
has to
encouraged.
drive the bus.
And I moved here alone when I was 17. So I was alone, right? So like I was working, and like it was great. But then I'll tell you one thing that happened actually that you could probably relate to in a certain way is I realized that like it's crazy what the human mind does. I refused to look up the definition of the word grooming because it took me 10 years because I had a very unique perspective, right? I started the industry a few years before me too, at 15 years old, like, and started to work, very specific perspective, saw things change. So because I saw things change, it's made me feel like things can change, right? And so, but like, I couldn't look it up because I couldn't accept, and I feel so bad saying this. I feel bad for teenage Erin because at that time I couldn't accept that I would be stupid enough to be groomed.
Same.
It took me
That
10
happened to me.
years.
That happened to me.
It took me 10 years to look up the definition of it and to be able to, and I read it and I was like, oh my God. And I had to take 10 years to be able to forgive myself
Yep.
for being groomed. And it's just like,
Same.
because I thought it was stupid. I thought I was smarter than that. It's like, that's a thing because you were not allowed to be a child. Wow. It was like but meaning, you know, you spend 10 years and if you spent enough years in this industry, you've been through some shit, right? And I spent years like cultivating and like these thoughts and these like getting ulcers probably just from the suppressed shit that is in there and like the stories that I have. And I do not want to tell them because I know what's productive and what's not. But I learned very quickly that no one can read your mind, of course. And like to be outspoken, you must assume that like no one is going to know the full context of your life or read your mind. And therefore, I was feeling resentful that anytime I felt like I was being outspoken, that like I wanted to be like, hello, I've been working since I was 15. I've been living with secrets for 15 years. Do you think I've not been discerning? 15 years. And
We live the same life.
Yeah.
We live the same life.
Yeah,
I'm not even kidding.
Listen. And so then you decide to be outspoken, and then you become like, and listen, I have no regrets about, I am an outspoken person, and I will only do it. It makes me immensely uncomfortable, but I will only do it if I feel like it involves stuff that needs to be said that hasn't been addressed. And I've had moments where I thought, like, if I have to be the sacrificial lamb here to address the taboo, and I never thought I would say that. But, like, for 18-year-old Erin, if she knew that it had been 10 years and, like, not much had changed, and I have baby sisters who I love, like, I was ready to do that because I just thought, that's it. That's more important to me. And I never thought I would say that because I love acting. Love it more than anything. It's been my happy place for so long, but...
I mean, where as actors, when you see what how things were done just back in the day, sort of our way of contributing was bearing children. Now, I
Yes.
still like the mother instinct is very,
But it's
primal in me.
beautiful.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful.
And it's
Like it is the
powerful.
divine feminine.
It is, but it's associated with certain things that like are antiquated. Like it's so fucking powerful, that maternal instinct.
There was sort of, I think, this shift that
Mm.
happened. The baby
Yes.
boomers then were born, and then the birth control pill in the 60s.
Yeah.
And then sort of this whole role of this dynamic started changing.
But
Yeah.
it's so wild how much resistance there is to that. Even if it's not overt, it's not explicit. It is implied in like the decisions we're making in really significant ways for our country. And like, it's so fascinating to me because I just think, God, I get that 100 years ago we have come a long way. And yet, it's funny, I think about this quote that James Baldwin said once, which was racism will always exist as long as the white man is insecure. And I thought, wow, now I can't even begin to fathom, compare, empathize with someone in his position or him. But something about that has not left me because I think that there's a need to be superior. And I'm not saying this globally. And I love men. I have men in my life. I'm not one of those people who do.
I think it's tribalism.
I think
It's
it's
my tribe
tribalism,
is better than your
But I
tribe.
do think that there is something transpiring that involves women getting not our power back, sorry, our power to begin with.
realizing
things
that we
being
are part of God and that we
Yes.
have our own power, period, or that
Exactly.
everyone has their own
But
power.
I think that that is going to be really difficult to for the world to metabolize in a way that's quick enough at a pace that we deserve. We deserve a quicker pace, in my opinion. I just think about like medically speaking. This woman was this brilliant woman. We have to like cite her after this. She is going around doing podcasts. I believe she's a I don't know what her title would be, and I sound so ignorant, but she's amazing. We have done all these medical tests for men. We have not tested women for majority of the prescription drugs we do, like that people take. Ambien, for example, never tested it on women. We give
That's a hell of a drug. I
instruction-
ain't taking that.
Oh, no, no, no,
It's like,
no,
I think I took it
hell
once, and I think
no.
I almost died.
Oh, I took it once, and I read poetry out loud naked to my girlfriend.
I
on
ate
a
an
video.
entire fridge, and I don't. And I
Oh,
wrote the weirdest
yeah,
poetry.
no,
I
no.
was like,
No,
what am I
yeah.
saying?
No.
What
No,
happened?
no.
It is
no.
not it's not a
No,
fun
I
drug.
don't like waking up not knowing what. Like, are you kidding me? Like, but then I started to develop an adverse reaction. That was weird. If I took it right now, I'd be bouncing
I had
off
almost
the walls.
accidental phone sex.
Like, oh, please, anything can happen. Like the stories that I've heard, like that scares me. But
Yeah.
But women metabolize it completely differently. So many of these heart attacks, for example,
Mm-hmm.
heart attacks, we think of the symptoms as being like the pain is in
In
your,
your left arm.
It manifests differently in women, and they're just letting like this information out because they didn't test women. Sleep schedules, so women can feel like they're getting an IBS episode or indigestion.
That's right.
How
That's
it
right.
manifests in
Yeah.
women.
Yep,
But we didn't
I've read
know
that.
They didn't study sleep when it came to women. They have only studied men. So we're facing medical repercussions. It's not even like, forget about pay parity. It's like we are literally not being recognized as people who need to be treated medically in the same way. That's like, I'm like, that. Talk about denying one's humanity. Like that results like women have died because they don't understand what's going on with their body and they're having a heart attack.
We're literally still figuring out. I mean, it's like trust the science, but it's like your best. Everything's like a best guess kind of thing.
Exactly,
Like that's
exactly. You're not.
we're
gonna
still
include
human
women.
beings. Yeah,
They're
it's
different. Like we are like the hormonally I'm not saying that like just like down to the science of it all. It's like you're not going to test different genders of a species medically. Like women need 9 hours of sleep.
that's wild.
So men will be like, "Why are you so tired?" It's like because we need more sleep.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep.
It's so interesting.
I'm on my
Isn't that
period. Trust
wild?
me, I know.
Oh girl, oh my god. I mean, I've been balancing my hormones because
Yeah.
I'm going to freeze my eggs. Yeah.
I'm thinking about doing it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do
But
it.
it's like the hormones. I think the level of they pump you up with the hormones, and I could not handle birth control. It just my cycle would become really weird, and like
Yeah.
it sounds very TMI, but the consistency of the blood was just different, and I was
Listen,
like, I don't.
You have to listen to your body.
And I was like, this is not for me.
What I would ask is like whether, because from what I understand, I thought like certain things would be consistent with other things. Like I thought my friends tell me their experience becoming pregnant versus freezing their eggs completely different. Your experience on birth control could be completely different from the hormonal process of like what involves like preparing for the egg retrieval. Like it's very different. So it could be. I just know like for myself, I love doing things like that because I like to not feel like I'm in a rush, and it's not a guarantee.
Yeah.
But it feels like I kind of just want to do it because women are able to now, and I want to take autonomy over my own scheduling.
Same.
And maybe,
and I think to bring it back to, I think this long-winded conversation that was like, but the whole idea of women, I think us coming into the workforce, us having a choice of when we get pregnant, and being able to do this, because I would be, raising a ton of kids, and I guess we were back in the Stone Age, but I mean, like that would be a blessing.
I would have died of strep by now, like
exactly.
Probably, like, oh my God.
But I would welcome that. I was built to be a mom since I think as like a 5-year-old. I wanted to very maternal. My God.
Like to a degree that's like I've been maternal since I was 2.
5.
Young. Like
5. I had all the
literally
little babies with the pacifiers, but they were they were little monkeys and dogs.
Oh my God.
Stuffed animals with the pacifiers.
Yeah. Do you want to know what my earliest memory is? It's my parents. My parents have been divorced since I was like, they've been separated since I was 2, divorced since I was 7. I do not remember them together. They're amazing humans, but they were having a fight, the only fight they had in front of me. My earliest memory is being like a toddler, and I didn't know what to do, so I went and I got them both a glass of water.
Wow.
And it seems like a trivial thing, but that's just like literally when I used to live in this house in Venice with my best friend, I was called mom in the house, and she was called dad, and we had another roommate, and they just called me mom because I'm so maternal and I love it.
You were parenting even then.
Yeah.
So you took on the role of mom sometimes. So I wonder, you would put your child away. So how did you, okay, so let's talk about Hoffman if you can.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
I love Hoffman.
Oh my God.
So how did you reintegrate? So if you don't know, Hoffman Institute, I was recommended by dear friend Alona Tall, who was just on yesterday. And Marcos had gone, her husband, and he was recommended by Josh Brolin and some really cool people.
Yeah.
Orlando, who I know, Orlando Bloom, he also went, and Katy Perry then went, and then Justin Bieber. And it's this hippy dippy in the middle of.
Can I just say it's hippy dippy, but it's also very based in science.
Oh no,
That's what I love about it. It is the only program I've ever done where it's like no matter what your approaches to this stuff, you can be hippy dippy crunching granola, or you can be
but it feels that way. It feels, but it is
in a beautiful way, spiritual.
It's changing your neural pathways, and I mean, it's experiential therapy. Is that what they call it?
Yeah. It's your neuroplasticity. It's basically teaching you that all of these little patterns that we're aware of that
we learn from childhood, from our parents that are been, it got us to a certain point, and us overachievers, we need to unlearn them because they're not helping us, and it help us evolve and survive in a certain way. And then you're like, well, this isn't helping us. Yeah, this isn't serving me.
But then you learn other things about yourself. So that's the thing to me. It's like I came out of it with so many epiphanies still to this day, flying at me. I'm not overwhelmed by them.
Yeah.
I'm not overwhelmed by them. I would have been before because I'm a type A in recovery, type A- now, I think. And so it's so interesting because they really do, I've never been more flooded with concepts and epiphanies and really profound ones, and felt so at peace.
And what was your biggest epiphany?
I had so many. One of them was about my perfectionism and how,
the tightrope, the 10,000 feet.
But it made me realize how to communicate about it with people, which is, it's not about being perfect and feeling like I want to be the perfect one. It's about a lack of self-identity and self-worth, and feeling like I need to exceed and excel in areas to a certain degree to make myself of equivalent value to others because of certain circumstances. When I was younger, I felt like I needed to stand out. I felt like I needed to excel, to be
To get
like,
attention, to survive.
to literally be of the equivalent value to someone who just like was perfectly average, which I encourage. Like, be average in that in circumstances that involve school. Like, don't like the perfectionism thing. It's not about thinking that you're better than others. It's about, it was my survival mechanism to like get recognition and love, and like I just desperately needed that. And so I thought I needed to do that to get
Turn yourself into a superhero,
Yeah.
literally. Turn
Yeah.
yourself into a
Yeah.
superhero,
Yeah.
and then I can survive and people will love me.
Yeah, exactly, which is sad because
We live the same childhood.
Yeah. And then you learn finally. The first time I really learned, and I've done a lot of modalities. I have done therapy. I have done 12-step programs. I have done ketamine therapy. I have done like so many things, right? Transcendental meditation.
Same.
But this was the thing for me. And I'm not dogmatic. I say whatever you're called to, do it. But for me, it was the first time I left, and I felt like this thing that I didn't know I was looking for so long, that was just so needed. I walked out feeling it, like embodying it, this level of like self-forgiveness and compassion that I just wouldn't allow for myself to experience.
Which clicked for you? Like what? So they have, so just a little bit to give context, you bash pillows for 45 minutes and you tap into your rage you never knew, and you're with like 30 other people in the room, and you're seeing every side of every part of a human. Oh my God, tell me.
No, you're in it. So I did the 2-day intensive program. So this is a different thing. This is no, it's the same thing.
Okay.
Like, meaning like not same principles. Left like most painful experience of my life in a good way. But just so you know, there's aspects of your experience that I have not experienced yet, but I'm going.
Oh
the
my
full-blown
God.
retreat. But
So-
like I did a 2-day. Basically what happened is I needed like the urgent care version of Hoffman, and thank God, like something like I basically got to a point where I was like, if one more thing happens to me, I'm going to combust. And I said, no, I have control over that. And not control in terms of like self-criticizing, but in terms of like, no, you need to like amplify your psychological immune system, and you've always been good at doing that.
Yeah.
And you need to like show up for yourself in a significant way. So I was looking for workshops at Esalen Institute, which I've never been to.
I wanted to go there too.
Me too.
Yeah.
Dying to go. Always like
Big Sur.
Oh my
It's
God,
great. It's
love it. It's
beautiful.
magical.
Oh.
Magical. But and then there was this essentials program, and I did it, and like it happened at the tail end of a year that, you know, it's so funny because I think that people think that, and I understand this, they're like humans, and I would think this as well. When you talk about hardships, it's what people perceive as the public hardships you display online. They're like luckily I've gotten to a point, not so luckily, where stuff online doesn't matter to me anymore because real life stuff has happened, and that's what mandates my attention. And I've been through the really hard shit, so it makes the online shit seem like nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I got to a point where I was like, one more thing, and I said, no. Step.
And you
like
you stopped your Instagram, right? You were
I
just
stopped
like
it
enough.
for a second, and you know what? It was really interesting because, it's so funny that I will just say that I think that the word "should" is such an overly used word and should be used with such caution, because whatever someone's process is, whatever they're going through, no one could possibly understand unless they've been in this specific situation that you have been, which are few and far between. Not to like engage in terminal uniqueness. You know what that is?
No.
It's this concept that like they teach you in the 12-step program, which is oh, woe is me, like my life is like, you know what I mean? You don't want to indulge in that because then you become the opposite side of the same coin as like ego. But there are certain situations that are really specific, and you need empathy. And it was hard for me to find empathy in those moments when like
For yourself, or
I need empathy from others. Like group therapy is what's really helped me.
Yeah.
I want to be in a room full of people who get it.
Yeah.
And you can't always get that, of course, in a specific way, but it's interesting how many people will say to you, and I just say this like in general, if anyone's going through something that is specific, and like we don't get a manual for life, for navigating life, let alone navigating life and navigating hardships while also being in the public eye and just wanting to scream and like just you want to break. And so I would advocate for people to just maybe evaluate before they say you should not have done this or should have done this. Think about the other person in the position they're in. Maybe they needed to do it for themselves. Maybe they needed to do it to like there are a lot of
You're talking about other people
I'm talking about-
shoulding, like you
I-
should do this or you should do that. These expectations that have nothing to do with you.
Yeah, or like even I feel like as a woman in the industry, you're taught to take up just enough space to be relevant, but not too much space. God forbid, not too much space, but just enough. Can't be relevant. It's this fine line, and I
It like mirrors the childhood,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
To a
It's like-
certain degree of like, I have to be a superhero, but I can't, it's the Barbie quote, but I feel like that Barbie, that speech is a universal
Yes.
for men and women
Yes.
because it's like, there was another quote where it's like, if you're to this and then you're
Yes.
to that on the other side,
Yes.
if you're working out too much, you're sick. If
Yes,
you're
exactly.
if you're fat, you're also sick. So there's
Yes.
always this temperance.
Pathology.
So there's just this constant balance to find,
and it's exhausting.
and it's exhausting. It's the tightrope. It's like anytime you
exhausting.
make one wrong move, you're like,
Yes.
crash.
Exactly. And by the way, especially when it's on a public, like, you know what I mean?
And
like-
now everyone has their opinion
They
that has,
do.
but it's really about them because it's always, I was speaking to Peekaboo about this earlier that it has nothing to do. It has nothing to do with you or with me or whatever. It's their own projections, and everyone's just in a fight with themselves, and everyone's
They
a mirror.
are, but they're the consumers, and we are in an environment that is driven to the consumers. So as soon as something circulates, we don't like to say this and we don't like to admit it, but it impacts our work. It does. Meaning they're a taboo subject still to this day that people are afraid of, and I understand why, but I simply think that you work on a show like The Boys, and I'm constantly talking about how
Taboo.
I'm not going to shy away from the taboo.
Yeah.
And it's crazy that, like, it's one thing if you don't agree with someone addressing a taboo subject. It's another if it's turned into a you shouldn't have. It's like God, there's no should or shouldn't in this world of like public shit. Like, it's so difficult to navigate, and honestly, I don't want to be in the limelight in that way. That made me so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I never wanted to do that. I did that because I did it for the 18-year-old version of myself who was going through a lot, and I wanted to do it for her, and I wanted to do it for people like my little sisters, because I am intuiting this systemic underlying thing, and I think we've put a Band-Aid over it, but we've not inoculated against it.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes it harder to address because it's not overt.
Mm-hmm.
It's not explicit.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like men touching you anymore. It's like this byproduct of woke culture where someone can say something and wrap it in a bow of feminism, and that makes it okay, and like all these little weird things. And I just and I after playing this character, I don't know. It's just I really am trying to hold an authentic place in this world, but it became very clear to me that because I did not feel safe earlier on in my life, I want to make every woman on set, every woman feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
That's my first motive when I get onto set.
Yeah.
I want every woman to feel safe. There was this beautiful thing that happened during that time when, like, I quit social media, which is a lot of women reach out to me, and one of them said that she had, been in front of the camera and she quit because of the bullying. And she now works at women's shelters because she needs to help other women feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
It heals a part of her.
Mm-hmm.
And it broke my heart because I thought, she said to me, I couldn't speak out about this. I've never felt comfortable because she doesn't have the platform or the listeners, and she'll be stifled. And I thought, it's just that alone makes it worth it. And I just don't want that to, if it sets a precedence, if it causes one person to maybe do what they need to do in that moment for themselves, one human,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? If it like adds to like a tiny decimal fractional, tiny amount of impact to the zeitgeist that we're experiencing right now, which I don't know if it will. I think, I said this when we were doing the Me Too movement on the show, when we were depicting that storyline. I said sunlight is a good disinfectant, and we've all said that. And then
bring it into the light. Sure.
Yeah, and so it's not a comfortable thing. It's not things that like I would ever like. Oh God, I was conditioned to not do that as well. Like that.
Don't talk about it.
Don't talk.
Just brush it under the rug.
No. Don't talk about it until someone who is like Meryl Streep or Taylor Swift does. And then you can talk about it, because it's like there needs to be, and by the way, then everyone will jump onto your side. Like, but I just want to, this sounds really cheesy, but I want to be on the right side of history. And I really want to, I can't change things for women moving forward, but like, I just feel very strongly about just trying to do the little things that subliminally plant something in someone's head one day randomly that could lead to them feeling like maybe they can speak out on behalf of themselves. And even if it doesn't cause a change in others, maybe it helps them. And that's really the point ultimately.
Yeah. Cher would talk about this, that, she was this big, huge, still is a huge superstar, but how when they asked about, who Cher is, she's like, oh, like when she talks about her persona, like there's the idea and this persona and this perception of the machine of Cher, and then there's just her. So she's like, that's what everyone else is doing, and everyone else has something to do with this. But and she was, so I always think about the idea of fame, and I also think about, it's like we finally become the superhero. We're the superhero. It's like for me, it's like when I got everything I wanted for tennis. I wanted to be top 10 in the country. I wanted to get a full ride to Duke.
Doesn't fill that void, does it?
Oh my God. And so I'm like, sponsored by Nike. I win an international
and
tournament.
You're like, and I don't feel better.
But it was not only that, I had this idea in my head that when I went to Duke, there would be this family and there would be this welcome arms of sisterhood that I never felt like I had. And, and so I was wanting this connection and closeness of being on a team. But the thing is, you have a bunch of number ones on a number one team, and it was cutthroat. I mean, like, and we still talk and whatever, but the situation, you have people who are playing an individual sport who've never been on a team before. And so, and I also, I think, fell short in my own ways. Like I could have, I was a freshman and I was like late half the time. Like, I was nearly kicked off the team on a full ride.
Good,
but
as you should.
I was
go to
figuring out
so
college.
I didn't go.
But the interesting thing was because I had this fantasy of my mom really instilling this, like go to college, like go to the best college, like that feeling of if I'm not going to the best school and I can just word vomit, just be like, I went to blah, blah, blah. Like I'm important.
Totally.
And it was just more of like a calling card to feel. And that was my mom's stuff of wanting to feel important in her life that got transmuted to me.
Yes.
And then I somehow, at 12 years old, I'm going to go to a good school because I want to get a good job.
Yes, yes. And you also want to be able to say, by the way, hey, I went to Duke, and this is a name that people associate with a caliber.
And they immediately think you're smart.
Yes, exactly.
Joke's on you guys.
Like, no.
No, I'm kidding. But,
I didn't go to college, and like, listen, I genuinely, if I was going to go to college, like, I was not going to, like, I was studying for my SATs. I had a tutor. Like I was going to go.
Same.
My mom went to Northwestern. My grandmother went to Columbia. Okay. Grandmothers don't go to Columbia. She went to Columbia. This is crazy, actually.
That's wild.
Yes, she went to Columbia because, get this, she was treated for alcoholism when alcoholism in women was still being considered like they would be declared insanity or it'd be declared insane, and they would be sent to a mental ward or
and
a
they would do
asylum.
a lobotomy on them. And then like, remember they used to do that?
Oh,
They did that to a Kennedy?
Yep.
Tanner, did they do that to a Kennedy? I think they, a Kennedy, someone, they just did a lobotomy.
That.
She was never the same. So they just basically One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
100%. But get this, ready? So my grandmother,
God forbid you have a personality or you just have like a feeling
or an addiction, and maybe it's a disease like men are like so. But get this, my grandmother is many years sober, and she's very vocal about this because she's also a psychologist, and she was very active with my grandfather, like with Betty Ford and those types of things. They were prolific with that world. Like my grandfather was a pioneer in the concept of alcoholism being a disease. Amazing. Like I grew up with this amazing knowledge of also like. Almost like too much compassion though. Like I'm not saying there's such a thing, but like
you can have compassion with boundaries. Wait, Tanner, what do you call it? Trace? What is it? Wait, say it again.
Yeah, truth and grace.
Truth and
Okay,
grace.
there you go. That's what I'm learning because I like
You have to have the balance between you have
it.
to have the truth
I
and you
didn't
have to
know
have the
about
grace.
that.
And if you don't have both, then you're sort
Well-
of... Wait, explain it better.
But yeah, the truth is not always comfortable, but it's always necessary.
Oh God, yeah.
And grace is much more comfortable, but
Yeah.
It's not.
you oftentimes are void of the what's real.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Also, the truth requires more effort. So therefore, it requires, in my mind, more love. Like my dad and I were talking about that recently, where basically, if you want to tell someone the truth and you want to make the effort of like diving into your discomfort zone to tell them the truth, the amount of love that's required, that requires so much more effort and love than just being passive, you know? But what were we talking about? Like I completely...
Betty Ford.
Betty Ford, yeah. So my grandmother. So get this. So she is an alcoholic, and she is in recovery and many, many, many years sober, but very, very also prolific in that world. She goes and sees a doctor who, unbeknownst to her at the time, she later finds out, declares her as insane, and she should be sent to the mental asylum. Right. This is like
And what year is this?
This would have been
50s, 60s?
Let's see if this would have been 60s. Yeah,
It's when they were sending everyone and getting them
which
a
wasn't that long
lobotomy.
ago, by the way.
I know.
Like, can you believe that? But men at the time were being diagnosed with alcoholism and being treated for it. Okay, women were being sent to asylums.
wow.
So, my grandmother switched doctors, and I forget why, but maybe it was her intuition. And the next doctor said to her, like, the next doctor was one of the first doctors who said, no. You're an alcoholic. We need to treat women the way we treat men, individualized approaches, and as if they have this disease, because they do. That was my grandfather. He treated her, and he said, so she had to leave him as a patient.
Wow.
He encouraged her to go to Columbia because she was so intelligent, and she's been sober since then.
That's amazing.
But she then, I don't know how she was able to see the record. She worked in his office, but she would have gone to an asylum if she hadn't switched doctors. And that doctor
It's
is
terrifying.
Yeah. And then that doctor is my grandfather.
Wow.
And so that literally that little moment. And I tell you what, like, at the same time, she
Get a second opinion, guys. You know,
Yeah,
sometimes there's been a
yeah.
lot of
like there are a lot of like
they've
yeah.
operated on cancers that weren't cancers, and you know, I feel
Yeah.
like the pharmaceutical company I
Oh
took
my
as
God.
as a child, beating my body into a pulp,
Oh, God.
being an athlete.
Did you?
So I took the Viox for a while
What's
because
I don't know what that is.
so Viox was here. Tanner, can you look that up?
Like is that like
So
an
Viox
80
was-
is it like gets
No.
you energized?
No. It was a painkiller that didn't have any effects. Like
Oh, it
like
wasn't
you,
like
it wasn't
it
oxy,
okay.
but it was kind of like a more intense ibuprofen.
Okay.
So it took away, I guess, like I had a stress fracture on my back, and I was just
Oh,
you know.
shit.
And so that was just from playing. Actually, no, I think I had a stress fracture when I moved my sister's entire furniture when she went
no.
to college when I was 8. I was 8, yeah, 8, and
Big age difference.
yeah. And so I was about 8 years old, and I decided it would be a great idea to get her room because I thought it was the better room. So I moved all my furniture. We're talking like bookcases that are hot, like we're talking like 100 pounds.
Yes, but when you're a fucking perfectionist, you're like, I
Yes.
can do it.
You can do
I
it.
get competitive with myself. I'm like, suck it up.
Yes, so that's what I
Literally.
did. So I literally took me all day. I moved my
Yes.
sister's entire furniture into my
Yes,
room. I
yes,
used all my
yes.
furniture into her room, and then I couldn't walk for 3 days. And I think that's when my back issue started.
Yeah.
My sister to this day gives me shit about it, of just like, you ruined your back when that happened because you're so willful. It's on my mom's side. She would. During a blizzard, she ran 5 miles. I'm not even kidding. And so
Wow.
5. So
Okay,
their car gets
okay.
stuck.
This
This
too
is a
many
Porsche.
parallels going on.
Oh
This
my
is
God! Wait,
really
listen.
weird. No, I'm ready. I'm ready.
Your
My
mom.
mind's being blown.
Okay, we're gonna get into this because her mom swims with tiger sharks. Hold on. So my mom. So literally, there's a blizzard, and they're living in Park City with her husband, and their car gets stuck, and they just played tennis. And my mom is in, a tiny little like tennis skirt, and like she has a jacket,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
she's 70.
Good for her.
Blizzard, and
Oh.
she literally. So they're 5 miles away. I thought it was just 1 mile. 1 mile was enough to run in the snow, and she's like, "No, I'm gonna go out, and I'm just gonna go run home." This bitch runs home. And I
Right, this
literally
makes so much
so
sense now.
I'm like, so when I had to do this eulogy and in front of my mom's casket, it was
And this was a year ago.
this was in December when
So
I
it
did the
wasn't
eulogy.
a year ago. Okay.
Yeah.
So oh my
but
god, girl.
but I was like, I had to. I felt like my mom was like, "Write me well, Susie," and so the whole thing is mostly comedy. So I was like, I murdered at my mom's.
Oh
funeral.
my god! Oh my
fucking
god!
murdered.
You have to find those moments.
So anyway,
Wow.
so I'm telling this story. The opening is just sort of about my mom running in the snow, and she comes from this, the Viking Rollo pirate, ruler of Normandy or whatever. And so she literally gets out and was like, no, I'm going to run home. And so she just puts on her little jacket and runs the fuck home.
Yeah.
She is 70 years old. Who does this? Let
But by
alone
the
with
way,
like ski parkas,
Is there a
right?
little part of you that relates? Because
Totally.
Part,
Yeah, of course.
I'm
I
like,
loved entire furniture. Yes, that's exactly.
That's the
And so
thing.
Kurt corrected me. It
Yeah.
wasn't a mile. He's like, it was 5 miles. And I'm still like, where was this? I need to measure how, that's insane. A blizzard. Blizzards are dangerous.
They are, but I'm like, I relate.
Yeah,
I like
you
it's this. I need to prove it to myself. But the weird thing is, my parents don't have it as bad as I do. Maybe because they're older and they've gotten out of I don't know. But
They
my dad-
mellow as they get older.
No,
you
but
know?
meaning they're still. My dad is a bodybuilder, but I swear to God, non-steroids because he can't take them.
Wow.
He has been a bodybuilder and he has trained on the side since he is the most buff. Like everyone who talks about Dennis Moriarty is like, what the he's come on to set on the Boyz and people are like, what the fuck? And we're working on a show with superheroes. He is the most muscular motherfucking man you've ever
That's
seen.
amazing.
And he's
amazing.
nearly 70, right? So that's insane.
Yeah. Yeah. So your mom swims
And
with sharks.
my mom is an avid swimmer, but always exercise. She's
I saw that video.
Yeah.
Her swimming with tiger sharks. It was so
dives.
inspiring.
She dives she goes on swimming trips as well, where she swims miles a day, every day.
When death is on the line.
100%. But the thing is, my mom has this amazing ability to my dad and my mom are both really good when it comes to facts because my dad was a hospice nurse most of his life, so he was dealing with people who were dying 6 months
Your
or less
dad?
through the AIDS crisis as well. Yeah.
What
And I
kind of stories did he? Okay, so I feel like it's a DMT trip because I know people start talking about the dead people and they'll see.
I've never done DMT. I've heard all.
No, I haven't
about
done it. I haven't done
Yeah.
it. But you release DMT when you
you're
die,
yeah.
when you're dying,
But you
or
can
in your
do-
dreams.
Yes. Okay.
Or if you do ayahuasca,
that's
which
true.
we can totally get into.
Okay. You know how you always think at any age that you're at, you're like, I'm an adult. I'm
Yeah.
old.
Yeah.
Yet I also feel like a child most of the time. but,
yeah.
so I did it for the first time when I was 22.
Wow.
And I just listen, it was something that I've always been very curious about therapeutic modalities.
Yeah. Same.
I've
Done them all.
Yes.
I've
Yeah.
done
Why
them
not?
all.
Why not?
I'm a guinea pig.
It's such a privilege to be able to do them.
Yeah.
But also I have needed to do them,
Same.
I have made sure that also it's amazing. All these programs that teach transcendental meditation, they all have room for people who can't afford. I need to just, we need to reiterate that they have pay programs. They have that's why
Hoffman has a scholarship.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's
Exactly.
amazing. It's amazing.
So it's amazing. So hopefully people who gravitate towards those kinds of things can find those kinds of scholarships. But yeah, I just gravitated towards it because I had done many years of therapy by that point, even though I was only 22.
You're like, what else can I learn? How can I go really dive deep and see
truly.
all those hallucinations? So what happened? How was your trip?
I would say that here's the thing. It's so interesting because the plant medicine world is very much one that I am it's such a sacred experience, an individualized experience.
Totally.
If someone is called to do it.
Yeah.
First of all, if you're called to do it, do it. If you're not and someone's trying to tell you to do it, I don't believe in dogmatism. Don't
100%. No.
You need to be called to it. I was called to it and I'm really glad that I did it because I definitely had some revelations. But I felt I was still on a path of finding what worked for me. And it didn't need to be a medicine. It needed to be some type of modality that involved going back to what we were saying about the Hoffman process, patterns. And also I really have never, I want to address the demons. I want to really, I want to bring them out. I want to bring out the dark shit because I feel like it reminds me of the fact that the word crisis comes from a Greek word, and I forget what it is, but it's about sifting through the bullshit and like.
Here, Tina, you got that? He's looking it up.
Yeah, the Greek. It's like, and please fact check me. I hope I'm not wrong because I've
You
been
know,
telling this-
pharmacy is pharmakia is sorcery in Greek, I think.
Wow, isn't
Yeah.
that ironic? They would be sad if they knew where that was leading to.
Yeah.
That world is like, yeah. Listen, by the way, like there are obviously pharmaceuticals. It's not.
Oh, the Viox. Man, hold on.
wait,
we
yeah,
totally
what is
forgot about that.
Viox?
So, okay, so Viox. Hold on. Wait.
Please,
Before
yeah,
I want to
yeah.
get back to the ayahuasca,
no, please,
just remind me.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
the Viox. So I totally went on a tangent.
It's a painkiller?
It's a
Is
it's a
it
painkiller.
ibuprofen? But
It's
like
it's a
strong
more
dosage?
intense. Yeah, a strong
What
dosage.
classification of drug is it? Ibuprofen.
It's canceled. It's a canceled drug because
Can
it
you
killed
look it up?
50,000 people.
What
Tanner, did it look
there's-
up-
Is
did-
it as acetaminophen? It's not oxytocin. It's not
No.
ibuprofen. It's not.
No.
What I want to know what it is. I'm really curious. I
So,
know
like,
about these things.
So
'cause my
the
dad, like,
pharmaceuticals are, you have to kind of walk at your own peril because it is, and
You
I took
do.
it for a year and thankfully I didn't have a heart attack, but like 50,000 people died and they knew it. So
Oh my
before,
God.
so the whole Vioxx scandal was,
Similar to-
they kind of like Oxy, like
Yeah,
they knew what it was
yeah,
going to do.
yeah,
They knew it was
yeah.
going to kill a bunch of people.
Yeah.
They didn't care. They knew that they were going to make so
FDA
much
seal of
money.
approval.
And they were like, hey, we're in with FDA and blah, blah,
Yes.
blah, you know how it
Yes,
goes. And so,
yes.
like, I think there is some great, drugs out there that do really help, but I also believe
Of
in
course.
holistic. And
I'm like of that balance. Like
You know.
listen, I have.
what you got, Tanner?
Yeah, tell us, please.
How many
I hope
people
I'm not
died?
wrong because I've.
Ranging from 38,000 to
It's a-
60,000.
Yeah, there you go. There it is. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's when it was finally pulled. But I took it for about a year, maybe
Nuns.
3 months. And then it just
Oh.
sort of was like, my mom was like, oh, wow, I guess they took it off the market. And, never told me that all those people died.
Wow. Whoa. Okay.
What do you got? What do you got? What is
Okay,
it?
No, I'm just reading.
Your
like,
nails are amazing, by
Thank
the way.
you,
I
thank
need
you.
to
I had like
do
this
them.
special person do that.
I wasn't going to say
Later.
anything, Susie.
Minor. Mine are not done. I've been kind of
okay.
doing a natural thing.
I have to do this because
Yeah.
I pick my nails off. It's like a little
I do
weird.
too.
Yeah,
I do the same
so
thing. It's our anxiety.
It's anxiety.
It's the anxiety.
It's also
perfectionist.
I can't sit still.
Same.
Like I find it fun. It's like even if I'll be in a really good state of mind and I will just like be like
Pick
this
them
is
off.
fun.
Same. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just do this. I'm like it's better than picking them off.
I
But
do that too. I think that's why I didn't do them because I was like, I don't have time to get them done and then redo them.
honestly, I know it's but I just do it because it used to feel horrible to pick off my nails. Okay. Yeah. So it's okay. It sounds like it. I mean. Oh yeah. No. It's a serious.
It's a serious drug.
honestly probably
yeah.
because you were young. If you were older, like
Yeah.
you know what I mean.
Fuck.
The young body is amazing.
Is
like,
amazing. Yeah.
Especially when it comes to your heart. Damn. So,
So
did it make you
ayahuasca.
feel- yeah, no, wait, really quickly. Was it mind altering?
No, it
Okay.
didn't. There wasn't anything like thankfully, I don't like, I passed a kidney stone back in, I went through a lot, literally, like my mom died. Then I had a college best friend who also passed very
Oh my
young,
God, I'm so sorry.
suicide, which was, I know, it was brutal.
Okay. Yeah.
And yeah, and then I think my body's way of kind of like cleansing it was passing a kidney stone.
Honestly.
So my body was like, nope. And so I remember I was just sitting there, and normally I don't like drugs just scare me, like in terms of like
yeah, me too.
so like oxy or any of those things.
I've
And-
taken it. I have like an installed antabuse because I had to take it once for a tooth infection.
Oh man,
I mean, I didn't feel good. I don't.
it
get
makes me nauseous.
It makes me vomit. It
Vomit.
makes me projectile vomit.
I get so sick.
And so I'm like, that's great for like, but you don't know, it's like Russian roulette.
Oh my
It's
God.
like Russian roulette. We're so
oh
lucky.
my God, yeah. So at the for my kidney stone, they gave me morphine, and I was like, I don't know if I should take this, and so I took it,
I've
and then I
heard
just
it's the
started
best.
bawling, crying, and then I was like, because you feel like it is a
Like,
jolt
yeah.
of like you're going on like this roller coaster immediately, like just you're getting jetted out, into, I don't know,
yeah.
into the atmosphere, and then it's fine, like it's because it's
What is it? Yeah, I want it. Like, I'm so curious, just because I
you
yeah.
just don't feel pain, like you feel
So
somewhat like I didn't I think when I had kidney stones before, you just don't feel the like a knife going in your back and feeling
Is
like
there a
someone's
sense of euphoria though? Like, because
um,
that's what I've heard from it.
a little bit, like for the first like 30 seconds, but
Yeah.
it's sort of too much where I feel when I've had these really intense experiences meditating and talking to
Yeah.
God, where it's sort of that feeling where
Yeah.
you have to work pretty hard to get there naturally. I think you can.
Yeah.
And then
Also,
it's sort of like a cheap way to just go, oh my God, I'm shot out of a cannon.
for sure,
And
for
then
sure, it's completely artificial. I also think if
that's
you
what kind of freaks me out a little bit.
Oh, of
So you
course.
feel a little bit euphoric, but then you're like, thank God I don't feel pain. But it's not, you don't feel it. It doesn't feel crazy. It doesn't feel like this amazing
But maybe
thing.
you and I just don't, because I don't feel that way. Like from these like like whatever these drugs are that people
I don't like them.
they don't
Yeah.
make me feel
They
like
make me
happy.
constipated too.
Yeah, of course, but like they don't make me. They make me feel zero euphoria. So maybe
Yeah.
there are some people who are resistant to that.
Yeah, alcohol's enough. I'm like,
Yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah.
Like that's like.
and
yeah.
even then, I'm still convinced that it's a hell of a drug. Like
It is. Oh
alcohol.
my God. It's so funny how that's the drug that like is accepted. And, you know, you go to your grandmother's house and like, God forbid you bring I don't smoke weed actually. I can't anymore because I get hella paranoid. I can't do it.
It's probably your psychic ability, or your prophetic. You're just seeing more. That's what I feel. Like I go out astral projecting in that
if
atmosphere, and I like
I-
talk to God. I like,
I become a conspiracy theorist.
I mean, don't we all when we smoke some weed? You know what I'm
But
saying?
like, I just feel like I've never in my life considered myself to be a pessimist. I've always been a realist. And then one of the reasons why I went to Hoffman was because like similar to you, I had a year where it was like, holy shit, this is a lot. Like even like
What was happening in your life?
there was I had to confront like the mortality of someone in my family who's very close to me, and the illness and also and then familial relationships like that. It just involved me taking care of becoming a caretaker, and it involved
Being the adult.
honestly
pushing away the-
every nightmare that I had transpired in a year. I went through a breakup, and then I went through my dog developing an illness, and then I went through stuff going on with this family member of mine, and then I went through like a car accident that wasn't my fault, and then I like everything and
When it rains, it pours.
when it rains,
yeah.
of course, and then you become this, and you go into this state where this is one of the things I learned from Hoffman. I went to a state where I went through such a sharp, profound sense of pain that I just didn't think I would make. I did not think I would make it when I felt that
Yep.
like.
You just want to end it all.
Yeah.
I've been there. I've been there.
I just and
You're like,
so
I don't think I can continue.
it just
yeah.
hurt, and you do, and you continue, and you find strength in that ultimately. But fuck me, if one other person says to me again when I'm going through a bad moment, "What doesn't kill you makes you stronger," I get it, but also just be in the pain with someone. Don't be afraid. Don't glorify it. They will get there themselves.
Yeah.
That's what I felt in that moment. And like most people that I know, like, oh my God, thank God for my dad and my mom. Like they are just such wonderful people. And my dad is like, being a hospice nurse, he's not afraid of the dark. And he just like, what I learned from that is wherever anyone needs me to go to with them.
Yeah.
If you need me to go to the levity, I'll go there. If you
Yeah.
need me to go, I'm not afraid of the dark.
Yeah.
If you feel like shit, I'm not going to try and make you feel better, because it feels like people are trying to make themselves feel less awkward.
Because they feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because they don't know what to do.
Yes,
Because they feel
exactly.
uncomfortable with those themes or with those
Exactly.
ideas and with those feelings because they
Yes.
themselves haven't worked it out. And I know that for
Yes.
myself when I would do this to Christy, and she would just be in a moment when she was I was there for her home birth, and every time I'm like, "Are you okay?" She's like, "Stop asking me that." Like, and so I was trying to, because I think
Yeah,
in
of
the moment
course.
I wanted that, but she's like, "Just sit here with me."
And also, it doesn't mean to say that you weren't well intentioned. It's just
Yeah.
it's just being receptive. Like when I've told people, "Hey, this is what I need in this moment. I don't need, there
hold the space.
Like there was someone really significant in my life growing up who would constantly say to me when I was going through these bullying situations, their response would be, "You'll live." That was it. And I thought, oh, but I'm in
but can you
pain. Like,
acknowledge this?
yeah,
like,
yeah,
can you
yeah.
validate
Yeah,
that
you'll
it's
live.
true?
That,
yeah,
you know what I
validate
mean?
that it's happening. Like,
just-
I'm not going to say this. You know what? It's like
No.
interesting when you talk about, because there is sort of, I've gone through so much in my life, and I think there have been times where it's like you want to feel the woe is me, I'm a victim, and regardless,
that's the eternal uniqueness of it all. But that's the scary thing, because when you become that,
You can't stay there. You have
No,
to
but
acknowledge
I was
you do have
staying
to.
there
Yeah.
for a while for the
And that's
first
hard.
time. It
You
causes
can get
an
lost in there. You
I
can
did.
end up
I got lost.
you can go down a
Oh,
spiral and
by
then
the
it
way,
gets so dark that you need
that's
you're
exactly
so
what brought
far,
me to
you
my
can't-
knees.
Yeah.
That's what brought
Yeah.
me to my knees, but brought me to Hoffman because I thought I never thought I would reach that point, but I thought like I need to help myself in such a significant way because I could see the fork in the road and I could see that I could see the right road and the left road and I could see
Hoffman
this,
talks about
yeah,
that,
that's
the right
like
road and the left
this
road.
fork in the road where
Mhm.
we face them every day and like
Yeah.
and I could see where I was going and I could just one of the major things I learned from Hoffman is like I reached a point of such severe pain that my fear of going through loss, because I went through a lot of loss, I didn't want to become content or happy again. I wanted to live in the limbo between pain and that and content because that meant I wouldn't have as far to fall if I ever got hurt again or lost someone because the pain was so bad.
So bad.
And I was perpetuating a state of mind that was in so much pain and but not as painful as that moment so that it wouldn't feel like such a disparity because I went from being the happiest of my life to then going through these
the boys' success or having all this like
and not
wonderful
even just that,
family.
personal stuff.
And what was going on personally?
Just
the
fulfillment,
joys.
like the joys. I just felt like I had finally found. I've never been someone like I strive for contentment. I don't necessarily strive for happiness. I think happiness is beautiful because it's fleeting and that's what makes it so beautiful.
Yeah.
And I found contentment for the first time. And I just in my personal life, it felt like I felt safe and just like, and losing that is one thing, but in combination with other things, I just was like, well, I can't go through this again. And I have to because there are certain things that there are inevitabilities in life, but there are inevitabilities in my life that are more concrete. And I just thought I can't dip that far again. But then I just thought no, because I went to Hoffman and I learned that I learned about that fork in the road concept where you're at these you reach forks in the road every day of your life, right? And visualization has been proven to really, really be powerful in terms of allowing someone to step into the zone that they are worthy of, that they deserve, and that they want to be in, that will manifest the stuff that they want. And so I visualized myself where I was pre-Hoffman and staying on that trajectory. And I thought, it broke my heart. I was like,
I love that you visualized of what you wanted and you just were in it. Yeah.
Yes. And then I luckily went to it because I felt like I just went into autopilot for a year. Like I wasn't at the wheel. And that is scary because, you're taught about addiction. You're taught about escapism in so many forms, but your mind is powerful enough to do it without any external sources. And I didn't know that. And I had done so much therapy in my life. I had done so
You
much.
disassociated. You checked out.
I did. I disassociated. And so I went.
You're like, I'm not here. Higher self is like, I'm gonna leave.
Yes, but that just was. I abandoned myself before I would abandon others.
Wow.
And I left myself. Something happened, and I left myself in that room a long time ago. And I went back and got her.
That's awesome.
It was so. But I had to go back to that room that I had blacked out in. Because I was avoiding the pain, and I thought
You have to go back in.
I experienced the pain, and I was like, "Oh my God, I experienced it." That one of the days in this program in the Hoffman process, and I felt it again for the first time since it happened, and I was like, "Oh my God, no, you're okay. No wonder this is I can't believe the me that wouldn't have gone to that program, I would have made it out okay. I know that I trust myself to always find a modality and to always be curious, but I went through it was the worst pain of my life, and I had to experience it again to give myself the grace to understand why the past year has been so hard to navigate when the rest of my life has been so neatly done, and I just was digging myself a deeper hole because I would poke out of it and I'd see the flaw and the self-compassion and the forgiveness that it teaches you is just mandatory. But it's yeah, I've never in my life felt this, but I've always felt bad for others. Like I've always been preoccupied with my concern for others, and now I just feel really sad for myself, which is a good thing. And not pity, more so like I'm just like I'll write little letters to myself every day, like, dear Erin, it's okay to feel this way, blah blah blah, like compassion letters to myself, to just install that into my brain.
Keep
and
grabbing that kid who was left there.
Yeah, and I can understand why someone might think that sounds selfish, but we all know you need to put your oxygen mask on first. And I can tell you right now, I was not showing up for any friendships, relationships, or anything when I wasn't like fully taking care of myself. You can't. So,
you know, it's interesting. I had a lot of traumatic things happen, and I've done all the modalities, and now I think, you know, I've done all the work, and I feel whole. Like for the first time in my life, where neurofeedback actually really changed, because I did all this work, but that actually. I'm actually going to have her on, but the neurofeedback.
Oh, did you do the wave?
Yeah.
I'm going to do that, where like you find out what the waves like mean for your personality.
So
I'm doing that. I have that scheduled.
Yep.
Because, yes.
It's amazing. So
yeah.
So they put like a cap on, and you can kind of see what's going on in your brain and the trauma. And so my PTSD was off the charts.
I'm scared to do it.
Because
do you have high cortisol?
I not anymore, but I did. So my cortisol, everything. So you have your alpha waves, your beta waves, your gamma waves, your delta waves, and they were so all over the place. So here was my issue. So I had a bit of I was like 18, and there was a bit of a grooming situation, and I found myself in this really like Stockholm syndrome relationship, and I found, you know, I realized why I stayed. I realized why I was in it, you know, and I have love for him. Like I still love him, which was so complicated. He was more of like a father figure to me.
But you're allowed to feel like
no.
Like
it's
truths can coexist.
Yeah,
like you know what I mean.
There was sort of this like hurt people. So I think he was hurt, and so then he you know found himself in this situation. He was twice my age, and then there was another situation that had happened where I was almost raped and murdered, and I like checked out. Like there was like a whole thing. Thankfully, you know, I'm still here. I disassociated. So I literally was like looking down at myself, being like, you know, and I screamed, and you know, I was let go, and
could you remember it though? Like after, like could you? Because I've never blacked out, and I guess I didn't believe people when they said that. I believe them, but I was just wondering.
It's not.
Like,
it's more of a disassociation. Okay. Like
the mind is
there's
wild.
So the spirit. I astral projected because it's too intense. So here's my working theory.
Yes,
is that when a trauma happened. So when my mom died, what was happening, it was so intense. It was like my heart broke, and I thought I was going to have a heart attack because I love my mom more than anything. And even though sometimes we had a complicated relationship, like, you know, she was she was my best friend, and we spoke all the time, but we kind of had a relationship where we didn't talk for, you know, there was some
Mothers
anger.
And daughters are
it's
complicated.
tough. It's complicated, you know? And, but when that happened, I could feel myself lifting off. Like, I don't want to be here. It's too intense. So let me revisit this later. And so as my body started to like drift, I'm like, no, I'm going to deal with this now.
You did?
And I did. So I grabbed her back in, and I'm like, we're dealing with this now. I don't want to have to deal with this later. We're going to go through the pain of it.
Yeah.
And so my best friend, Christy, she literally flew that day. She's like, I called her. I was like, first call, I was like,
Thank
hey,
God
can you,
for
you
best
know,
girlfriends. Thank God.
She's like
for
literally
female
just
friendship.
her, you know, the shirt on her back. She's just like, oh my God, I'm coming. Like literally just got on a plane within minutes, didn't even have a bag or whatever she could find. And, you know, she was there with me, and she's the best. Like she, you know, she's like, she didn't have any clothes. It was the middle of winter. Like it's, you know, it's really
like,
cold. The New York winters are brutal. And
God.
I don't even have a place to stay yet. I haven't found this magical place.
Yeah.
So what's interesting just about when you disassociate, you don't like you. It's so painful, and it's too hard to comprehend. So your body drifts upward, and you're like, I'll deal with this later. My higher self will come back. So for me, when like
I
the
didn't
almost
know that though. When you don't know that, did you like the first time you went through that? Were you aware
I didn't
that
know.
you were
No,
going to come back? Because it's
so
scary when
so
you don't know that.
so my sort of thing is I could talk about my trauma and I could talk about it a million different ways and all these different
Oh, wow.
situations. So
I
I could, you know, I would talk about the story to everybody,
Wow.
but and so
Wow.
now I don't because I feel like I'm over it and I have peace and I have love.
Wow.
Like I just have love. Like
Yes.
it's all love. Like no
Yeah.
matter, you know, it's like it's keeping your side of the street clean where it's
100%.
just it's literally it's like, hey, you were doing the best you could,
Yes.
even though this was, you know, I did encounter malevolence to a certain degree. And I think, you know, coming from a place of like a lot of selfishness and that Stockholm syndrome relationship for a while, but then this other, you know, situation that was like an almost rape or murder. I like literally like being told, oh, this is what's going down. Like I'm going to do this, and you know, and I just managed to scream. But then,
Thank fuck you did, because I know like so many women would be paralyzed. So many people would be paralyzed.
well,
in
I
that
was like, and
moment.
I just remember this separate situation. There was like a knife by my bed, and I just remember thinking, I love you. Like I was like, I don't want to hurt you. Like, and I just remember screaming because, you know, I'm like, well, you're stronger than me. I don't think I can fight you off. But yeah, it was it was wild. And then I, you know, after this other relationship, I jumped into another one, and it was sort of like we were both sorting out our own trauma within this relationship. And so he was
Relationships are always like
it's
not
like-
always, by the way. They won't always be like. I think that it's a matter of committing to working on your triggers together and doing the work.
totally.
But wow, they are such powerful opportunities to learn.
Yeah. And
Like-
then, yeah. So I was like, I jumped into another relationship to avoid.
Excuse me, are you a serial monogamist?
Not anymore.
Okay.
No. I haven't been in a relationship in 7 years. So
Yeah.
I've literally just done so much work on myself. I've had these whirlwind relationships, and now I know myself so well that I immediately know I'm like, is this a match? Is this
Were you previously? Like meaning you said 7 years ago.
oh yeah.
Like before.
So I
7
had a
years?
9-year relationship and a 3-year
Yeah,
relationship
okay.
back to back.
Okay. So
And-
I never do relationships. Like
Oh.
I was like I do them very infrequently. I metabolize them very slowly.
Mhm.
It takes me a long time. Like and
Trust.
Yeah, not even to trust. I trust pretty easily. Weirdly, like I remember my first boyfriend who broke my heart. I was 18 years old and he was much older, and like he said to me, he had totally betrayed me, but he said to me, "Your trust is beautiful. Keep it." And I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" You've like, but
But
I
it
somehow
is.
never have been able to give that up. I believe people at face value,
I love that.
and I think it's because
That's so beautiful.
I do.
That's
I-
that.
I-
that I love
I've
that,
never
and you
been
should
able
because
to-
it'll
I've-
allow people to actually want to step up and be that person that you believe them to
yes,
be.
and I've always wanted to, and I always do believe that. Like, I give people the benefit of the doubt.
I love that.
But I don't.
Same.
But my
we're the
intuition
same
is-
person.
But my intuition is good now, and like
That's
I see
good,
the
that's
pink
good,
flags
that's
before
good.
I see the red.
Ah,
But I
pink
also,
flags. I
yeah,
like that.
Yeah, pink flags. I spot them, and they might be mine and not someone else's. But I just for myself, like especially when it comes to significant relationships, I like to also just specifically right now. I look at myself and I think, okay, I think I trust that if I do the work, someone will gravitate towards me or vice versa, because I in a right way, not to say that there's a right or wrong way, because we have experiences, they're lessons, and like we have
Mm.
to get this shit out of our system. All the fuck boys, you got to do it. You know what I mean?
Oh my
you gotta do
God.
it. By the way, anytime, I just have to say this.
So
like
many.
we all got to do it.
The
though.
situationships.
I know.
Oh
I know.
my
But
God.
like, don't you think like you got to do it? Like, what are you gonna do? Tell
You
your
have to
girl-
learn. You have to be. You have to learn.
You have to learn.
You have
By
to
the
learn.
way, like that's why I spot the pink flags now. But I'm like, I need to take a step back when it comes to like who I'm gravitating towards and who I'm attracting,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
because thus far, I've not proven to myself that like that it is something that has longevity in the way that I want.
Mhm.
And so I'm trying to like work on myself, and then the next time I feel that pulsation for someone, take a step back
Mhm.
and let's recognize why I'm attracted to them, because now I see
Mhm.
connections, as we all do, especially after
Yeah.
Hoffman, with my childhood and why certain like personas I'm attracted to and all that shit. So
And
like
which personas have you been
Well,
attracted to in the past?
it's in line with what we were talking about before. It's very much someone who will. I need to feel like it's someone who typically is charismatic in terms of people gravitating towards them, because then I'm the chosen one. So it's like the perfectionism thing as well. It's like something that I've always looked for my identity in extrinsic forms instead of intrinsic. Like intrinsically motivated, like basically it means like whether it's work, whether it's like I've looked for it in a way that will identify myself instead of finding that via my own, like the core of who I am.
Your own self-worth, deriving that from yourself, that you're doing that externally, that if this person validates me and likes me, then that means that I'm loved.
Yes. If this person who people who choose me, and when they choose you, it means you're special.
Do they usually have narcissistic tendencies?
Yes. Yes. And guess what?
Yeah, I've done that. I've done that.
I am like, listen, like going back to that LA like astrology shit. Listen, I can't fight the fact that I'm such a Cancer. It's like, listen, it is what it is. Like
Tanner, I see you, Tanner.
There's nothing like. Also, by the way, again, I swear to God, I do this.
He's in LA. He gets it. He knows.
No. But also, like, I'm. It's not my religion. It's not my religious code. It's fun.
Does Kirsten, your girl, does she believe in horoscopes?
Nah.
What's your horoscope? What's your horoscope?
He's Pisces.
No way.
Yeah, it's all water signs.
Oh my God, really?
I think I'm a pamplemousse.
Oh my God. By the way, can I reiterate for the millionth time? This is not my Bible. It's just fun shit to like.
It's so fun.
Like, yeah, it's fun. It's just fun.
So
For the record, I'm actually not over here rolling my eyes.
he's not.
I
He's
don't
not.
want to invalidate. Like, here's the thing: you isolate people like as soon as you mention that shit. I'm just saying that like
for the more practical viewers out there. Yeah, we get it.
Listen,
we know, but it's fun.
Listen, once upon a time, did I charge my crystals under the moonlight? Yes, I did. Do I do it anymore?
I drink my moon water. I totally do it.
Okay, so I'm just saying that
I totally do.
I'm just saying
on the full moon. I didn't do it
it
yesterday.
Yeah, the lunar eclipse. Hey, in Pisces, you're like, oh
that
my
me?
God, yes. Damn it.
A whole nother level.